Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 1. Hello, and welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson, and this is my co-host, Julian Pombo.
Hello.
So, just to kick things off, we are two professional musicians who work in the music industry in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I run a studio called Studio 1790. I record bands and mix music for a living, and I also play drums in various bands as another source of income. Julian is a session player and is also the resident bass player for Katie Cross, the country singer. He also plays and composes for the folk band Eriska.
That we are both in.
Yeah, I play drums in that band as well. So that's how I know Julian. He also teaches various instruments because he's multi-instrumental and multilingual. So he does that as a side source of income. But the important thing here is Julian and I both make 100% of our income from doing music.
Yep.
So the concept of leveling up your band, it comes from an idea of progression. Like in a video game. That's where the level up kind of comes from.
Yeah.
So in a video game, you're given a set of goals, like a quest.
Yeah.
And you go out into the open world, especially in an open world game, you know, where you can walk around and do your own thing.
And experience it, yeah.
And you follow the map marker or the quest marker and you just go and complete your goal.
Yep.
It's dead simple. But in the real world, you aren't sure what your goals are and there's no quest marker, there's no map to point you to the next skill point or achievement. You've just got to make it up as you go along. But progression can be defined in a few ways, whether it's audience growth, Spotify listens, song quality, money, or just having an enthusiastic band and enthusiastic band members.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in a position where you're starting a band or you play in a band and you feel like your progression as a band has stagnated, you're not progressing, you're playing the same gigs over and over, no one's turning up, you're not making money, no one's buying merch, you have like 10 Spotify monthly listens and it's just not happening. You're pushing and it's just not getting anywhere.
Yep.
Then this podcast will be perfect for you because every week we're going to be covering every single little detail of running a band, all the way from songwriting up to touring, recording, video, marketing, absolutely everything. We're going to bring on guests at some point as well to talk about
their experiences. And
promoters. We're going to talk to other musicians, people who work in the industry at different levels. We're going to talk about it all. And we're going to help you essentially level up your band, get to that next stage, wherever that is, wherever that needs to be, so that you can keep doing this, so you can keep doing what you love. So just a little bit of an intro for me. I've been recording bands for about 8 years now, so I've managed to get a fairly good feel of the band scene, of what it's like to be in a band. And I've also been in many, many bands myself. And I'm based in Glasgow in Scotland, and the music scene here is really vibrant. It's really good.
Yeah. Everything and anything going on.
So the good news is people still want to play in bands, despite the top 40 charts is mostly electronic music.
Yeah.
People still want to pick up a Strat and go nuts, you know, turn their Marshall amp up to 10 and play rock music. It's really good. It's still alive. It's still here. It's not dead, which is good. However, a lot of the time I see the same mistakes being made all the time, which inevitably ends up in bands breaking up, things going wrong, and it's just dying out. The passion's no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mostly the same mistakes, whether it's from outside places or coming from inside the band themselves, like self-sabotage and so on. So Julian and I are going to talk about how you can level up your band or rethink how you've been running your band
Yeah.
and get your music into more ears, play higher quality gigs, and take the right steps to find your audience.
You know, relocate those points around those stats of yours, you know.
Yeah. So depending on what you define as leveling up, whether it's in your situation, we've recorded a full album, it's out there, it had really good reception in the beginning, but now, like, you don't know what to do. Everything's tailed off. All your friends have come to all your gigs. They don't want to come anymore. You're struggling to find new people to listen to your music. Whether you're starting out, you've never recorded, never played anything before, you don't know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're well down the track where you've done tours and now there seems to be no interest, or like, how do you keep that momentum going? We're going to talk through everything. So now Julian and I are going to introduce ourselves, talk a little bit of what we do and how we got here.
So the beautiful voice you're listening to right now is that of Julian Pombo. That's right, that is a real surname. And opposite me is
Gavin Patterson.
Yeah, that's the man. That's him. What do you do, Gavin?
Well, Julian, I am a sound engineer and musician. I run a recording studio that I built myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mostly deal with starting out bands who are fairly new. They've got a couple of gigs under their belt. They've been writing, recording maybe in the past, maybe a couple of albums, or even just beginners.
Cool.
And sometimes solo artists as well.
All genres, or like?
No, it's mostly kind of the pop rock scene, not metal. Occasional jazz band.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. So let's just talk about sound engineering is not the obvious career choice for a lot of people. So how did you get into that?
Well,
never mind building your own studio.
Well, the thing is, when I was at school, I really wanted to get into aviation, which has absolutely nothing to do with music.
No.
I just really like aircraft. And I wanted to be an engineer. I actually applied for a university course for aeronautical engineering, I think it was called.
Oh, right, okay.
It's like the most difficult course to get into at uni, just so you know.
Yeah, I know some people in my school went to do it.
I'm so glad I failed my exams. Which is basically why I didn't get in. I got what do they call it? A conditional. I got two conditionals in Scotland. That is, you have to meet certain conditions to get into that uni course. Mm-hmm. So I failed my English exam by 1 mark. Mm-hmm. So because of that, my drum teacher at the time said, "Have you considered music?" And I was like, "Well, not really," because as we're trying to, demolish this phrase that you can't make money at music.
Yeah.
But the whole point in this podcast is to demonstrate that you can.
Yeah.
And it's not as hard as you think it is. But
totally.
At the time, I was totally in that mindset of, this is not a career that you should take because, your dad says you can't make money in music.
Yeah. You can't live on music. Which is funny because it's like people think making money in music is you either make millions or you don't make money, which is absolutely it's nonsense, man. But that's the whole point, and we'll be talking about that later on in other episodes.
Coming soon.
So coming very soon. Cool. So
so I failed my English exam.
Yep.
And I had an epiphany moment. I was out with a friend. Just chilling with my friends. It was between leaving school and starting college. Mm-hmm. So it was summer holidays and it was super boring. I was out with my friend. His dad took us to a local village and they were getting their hair cut. Oh, right. The story has a point.
No, it's fine. I trust you.
My friend was getting his hair cut and I was sitting with my friend's dad. And he asked, "So what are you what are you planning on doing when you leave school, or what now that you've left school? And I was like, well, I want to do aeronautical engineering. He's like, all right, what's that? And I'm like, well, it's like aerodynamics and engineering, so like aircraft, windmills, oil rigs, believe it or not, because oil rigs need to be aerodynamic so they don't blow over.
Oh, right, okay. Interesting.
And he was like, oh, right. But I thought you were like hot at music. And I just kind of sat there and went, oh yeah, that's an option.
Yeah, that is an option.
It was right after I got my results back, and I was like, okay, I've failed my exam. What do I do? So then I looked into doing a music course, which I did.
Yeah.
For 2 years, and it kind of one moment, it all built up to that moment, but it kind of changed what I was going to do. So I did a music course for 2 years.
Yeah.
Met some people, did some things. My first day of college was also my audition day.
Yeah.
I did my drum audition, turned up, played a piece of music. The guy was like, "Yeah, you're good. Your class is upstairs." It was like, okay.
just like that.
Yep.
Wow.
And I went upstairs, and my first class was recording techniques in a recording studio. And I sat up the back of the class, came in really late as well because I had my audition. And within 5 minutes, I was like, yep, I want to do this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
They were talking about like microphones and mic placement and stuff, and this just really interested me. And I thought, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder how much money there is in this.
Yeah.
And fast forward 2 years, it was kind of more the end of college. I decided to convert a building that I own into a recording studio.
Cool.
And 10 years later,
here you are.
Here we are.
Yep.
So that's kind of my introduction to music.
Cool. So let's go back to your music education. So what did you find? Why did you go and study music? What did you find that was helpful to you in the long run? Were there things that you've gone, oh, that's not true. That's not how this works.
Oh yeah. So going out, obviously I went to music college, doing a HNC and HND.
Yeah.
It's like a diploma thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of going over ground I'd already covered in school.
Yeah.
Which really annoyed me. You can imagine I'd just come out of advanced higher music, which is like A-level.
Well, it's like just below
grade
A-level.
6?
It's grade 5.
Grade 5?
Yeah. So it's like grade 5 performance is the kind of level you need to be at for advanced higher, yeah.
So I was going into music theory class and learning about crotchets.
Right. Okay.
Which is fine, which is stuff I covered when I was 7 years old. And I just felt a little bit like I had made a mistake. I mean, the course was fine if you're at that level.
Yeah, totally.
But for me...
we are not knocking college education, by the way. In some respects, I think...
No, there was lots of students there that really benefited from it. But I just feel, me personally, I didn't...
Sometimes it's good to just go to college and then do higher education after that, you know? Like, you don't have to go straight into university or conservatoire or whatever, unless you want to. But again...
The reason I chose college was because it was too late in applying. If I applied to a uni, I would have to wait another year.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to take
a gap year. Just wanted to get straight in.
So as far as learning useless things, yeah, there was plenty of that. There was the kind of message throughout the whole college course was this mentality of, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
I think it's from... what film is it?
Field
of Dreams, Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
And it's so wrong. It's so wrong. That mentality. And I kind of built my studio a little bit based on that, thinking that if I built this studio and a couple of musicians came, they would tell all their friends, and the next minute I would be like so busy. And nope. Same with starting a band. You start a band and you write some tunes and you play some gigs. You just expect things to explode and blow up. But because another thing that doesn't help is when you're at school level.
Yeah,
all your pals come to see you, and the minute you leave school and everyone becomes a skint student, no money, no one comes to your gigs anymore.
Skint for some things, not skint for, drugs and cigs and alcohol, but whatever.
Oh yeah, I couldn't afford bass strings, but check out my new tattoo.
Yeah, exactly.
How many times have you heard that one?
Yeah.
So yeah, I obviously I wouldn't have become a sound engineer had I not gone to college, most likely. So.
Interesting. College or college of YouTube? That's another thing we can talk about later on. That's a much deeper topic.
I can touch on it a little bit.
Yeah.
But when I left college and started up my own studio, I can remember my first band coming in to record, and I was up till 2 a.m. on YouTube figuring out how to record a drum kit, an electric guitar. Yeah. That's how down to the wire it was. And without YouTube, I would not have a studio.
So there you go.
Definitely. But there's nothing better than learning how to do a thing by actually doing the thing.
Yeah.
Even if it means not charging for your first few projects until you get some experience, and then charging after that once you've learned.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So talking about charging and getting paid and stuff, what was your first paid gig? Was it like engineering or playing, or how did you start? Playing?
Yeah, it was playing.
Yeah.
That would probably be about 2009.
All right.
Was it?
11 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, it was about 2009. A friend of mine.
Memes weren't even a thing back then. Is that long ago? Not quite.
Oh no, there were memes. They were just
they're really awful ones,
I couldn't even tell you. Like 2009 memes. I wasn't even on Facebook in 2009.
No, neither was I. I was late
Bebo!
To the party. Yeah.
Did you have Bebo?
I attempted to have a Bebo.
MySpace?
No.
I thought you were a scene kid.
No, I wasn't. I liked that kind of music, but
wannabe scene kid.
I had I didn't really have any friends, so I listened to that music by myself. Yeah. I listened to like Linkin Park and all that kind of stuff. So paid gig, we touched on that. Cool. So was that a wedding band or just original music?
When I left school, this is funny. My clarinet teacher.
Oh yeah, forgot. Yeah,
I'm a failed clarinetist. Nice. Failed massively. I gave up after a year. I just couldn't do it.
To be fair, like when I found out that you used to play clarinet, I wasn't surprised because you 100% have clarinetist vibes. But that's just because I used to hang out with like loads of woodwind players,
right?
Because I used to be a flute player, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a very good one, I hear.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. But yeah. Enough about me. We're still talking about you.
Okay. So, my clarinet player, my clarinet teacher, rather. She had a band. I don't know if she still has a band. I started learning drums when I was 14, right after quitting the clarinet, and I became pretty good pretty quickly. And she asked me to join her band when I left school, and I played with them for 3 or 4 years.
Cool.
And that was my first like regular gigs I had ever done.
Cool.
Taking a drum kit to a gig and getting lost on the way to venues and stuff.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Back in the day before I had a sat nav, and I used to print out directions from Google Map and set it on the floor tom in the passenger seat, I would like sellotape it to the top of the floor tom so I could see it from the driver's seat, which is really dangerous. You shouldn't do that, okay?
Yeah, okay. Don't do that. You have a phone, for goodness sake. Like, come on.
I had a...
It's modern times now.
Really... I had a Sony Ericsson K300i, which like before Bluetooth.
Wow.
That was... It didn't even have Snake. Snake's great. Snake's a game.
Snake is a game.
If you don't know what
and an animal.
Snake. Anyway, that was my first experience of playing. It wasn't paid, but it was...
Oh, right, okay.
It was just regular gigs. And then I started up a ceilidh band with my pal, a pal who is now super successful, actually.
Yes.
I'm hoping to have him on the podcast at some point. He was in the same band as me when we were kind of growing up, late teens, and he now plays in a band that is going on tour with The Who. So he's doing okay.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have him on at some point.
Got cymbal sponsorships, as any good drummer should, you know.
I don't know if he does.
Does he? I thought he did.
I don't know if he does. I need to ask him.
Is that not a meme? You know, like once you become kind of known, you just get cymbal companies going, have cymbals.
Mm-hmm.
Go on. You know.
When you can afford cymbals.
Yeah.
They give you free cymbals.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the day when I just get packets of strings chucked at me. That'll be cool. That'll be awesome. Who knows, bass guitars? That would be even better. Anyhow, so last question here. It's quite a retrospective one. If you could go back in time and tell yourself something, what would you say? So let's say you went back to when you were like 14 or whatever. Like, what would you say to yourself? Or as soon as even better, as soon as you failed your English exam and you couldn't get into whatever course it was.
When I was 14, I had a good mentality back then. I still wanted to like be a pilot or do like aircraft engineering or whatever. So I kind of wasn't in the music thing, but it wasn't until I was at college, learning about music business and stuff.
Yeah.
It sounds like when you think of the word business, it's like, Donald Trump business, trying to swindle people and stuff, but it really isn't. And if I could go back in time, I would probably tell myself that.
Yeah.
That, like, it's really not, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, if you're a band and you want to make money as a band, the way to approach it is not trying to swindle people out of, like, ticket money and, buy our t-shirts that are ridiculously expensive or whatever. You have to create some sort of value that someone would be willing to pay you for.
Yeah.
So release your music, make the best music and the best video content and release all of it for free. It sounds weird, but that's kind of how it is now. You release your content for free, your videos, your music, to promote your live gigs. If people want to support you further, they can buy merch.
Yep.
So I would go back and tell myself that business mentality is all about giving as much value to your customer as possible, and they will value you as a
creator or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Content creator.
Yep. That's all it is. It's content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's good, they'll come back. They'll be loyal. If you can get that's the key, is getting loyal fans and who'll follow you no matter what. And just don't try and scam your way through, or it's like promoters who charge 10 quid, 15 quid a ticket for 6 unsigned bands that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. No one will go. Make it affordable. Something that is worth going to see and worth paying the amount.
Yeah. Exactly.
But not too much, because it's all about trying to give these bands a leg up. If you put a 15 quid barrier between people and the music,
Yeah.
they're not going to pay that. You've got to give the bands a chance.
Yeah.
Get eyes in front of the band, an audience, and the only way you're going to do that is give them a helping hand, and that's kind of the mentality I would go back. If you build it, they won't come, but if you build it and
you put a big signpost saying, "Hey, there's a thing.
It's here." Marketing and I would go back and do that.
They probably will. They'll at least check it out.
I spent so many years not knowing that and trying to record bands and looking at my diary, and it was empty.
Yeah,
I would have one booking a month for 2 years. It was just dire. Until I realized, what, put myself in the shoes of the people coming here. What would they want? What would they think? But anyway,
all right,
it's your turn.
It's my turn. I know what the first question is.
Oh, he's seen it. What's your name?
What is my name? My name is Julian Pombo. Pombo is spelled Pombo. That's right. It's foreign. I'm not from here, even though I sound like
a filthy foreigner.
Yeah, I came here, got an arts degree, and didn't get a job. No, I did get a job, actually. I didn't steal anybody's job, I don't think.
He stole all the bass players' jobs.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he's so freaking amazing.
I'm really not.
He is.
I'm okay.
He is by far the best bass player I've ever played with.
Okay.
Just saying that.
Cool.
By the way, we play in a band together.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know.
If we talk about gigging and experiences and stuff like that, it'll probably be about that band. So that band is called Eriska, Eriska. That is not foreign, unless you're English, in which case it probably is. It's a Scottish band. So we play.
That's how we met. Yeah. We kind of met through a friend, and we're trying to come up with a wedding band at the time.
We were trying to come up with it. It was such a good. It was gonna if it was gonna be a band, it was gonna be the best band, because we had I don't know if you guys will know this name, Dorian Cloudsley.
Sick guitar player.
Who's one of the most amazing guitarists that I know. If you guys know Fat Suit, then you'll know Dorian.
Yeah, they're amazing.
He's really, really good.
There's not a weak player in that whole band. It's just
no,
every single player is amazing.
But yeah, I don't know what happened. It just ended up not being a thing. And then I remember talking to Aileen, who plays keys and accordion in the band, about starting up some kind of band. And she was like, "Oh, do you want to play some Scottish traditional music, but jazz it up? I guess
jazzy."
I guess the closest way to describe it, and I've been thinking about this for a really long time, is probably progressive trad, because that's kind of what it is.
Prog.
It's prog.
Prog trad.
It's prog with bagpipes. Anyway.
Genesis with B flat bagpipes and B flat drones, and
yeah.
Anyway, so we have established that you are a bassist.
Yes.
And flautist.
Yes.
And songwriter.
So bass is my main thing that I do. So I'm a bass player, bass guitar, double bass. Flute was the first instrument that I learned. So I started playing that since I was about. I've been playing it since I was about 11. And bass guitar was very much, unlike Gavin, I just kind of stuck with the flute, but then I also started doing bass in school.
You went to a music school?
Not for the first couple of years. That was later. So I was at a school for normies, I guess you could call it, normal school.
Elitist. It's very elitist.
It's very elitist of me. Regular vanilla school for 3, secondary school anyway, for 3 years. That's where I picked up bass. And then my parents just wanted, I was just kind of running out of musical opportunities and stuff in the school that I was at and the place I was at, because I grew up in quite a rural area. So I auditioned for
interject. Did you do any music? Because Julian comes from Argentina originally.
Yes.
Did you start your musical career, if you want to say that,
No,
education in Argentina?
Yeah, I used to do classical guitar.
Oh.
Yeah, but I was way too young. I was like 4. And I was just like, I just didn't have the concentration for it. In a sense, I had that, yeah. So I already knew a bit about music, like the tiniest bit about music before I started learning flute. Anyway, so yeah, so when I was going into 4th year, I auditioned for to get into Douglas Academy, which is it's a music school. It's not a private school. It's just
specializes in music.
It's a school that also specializes in music. So it was really good. Like the teachers at that school are excellent. Like they're all like, you know, professional musicians. Classical music. They've only just recently, I think, they started incorporating more like traditional music elements, and like there's a couple of like visiting like jazz musicians, teachers that go and teach there now, which is cool. But when I was there, it was all classical music, and I was doing classical flute.
Cool.
Yeah. And bass guitar was just a thing that I did on the side, just by myself.
That really annoys me, because you're like, oh, it's just a side thing, but he's like, amazing.
Yeah, it's now become my main thing, so they've swapped roles.
I started off on keyboard, actually.
Yeah.
It was my first instrument.
He's also really good at keyboard.
I'm not really good at keyboard.
Yes, you are.
I can get by. I can vamp.
I mean, I've seen some keyboard players out there. He's good. Anyway, so yeah, bass guitar was just, I kind of taught myself until I went to uni, basically, and that's when I started having actual proper big boy lessons, actually learning how to play the thing properly.
At what age did you, like after learning bass and flute and all that stuff, did you decide that you wanted to do this potentially as a career?
Well, I think I had the opposite experience where my parents kind of noticed that I had a sort of I took to music quite naturally, or like I had like talent, I guess. I hate using that word, but yeah, I had like, I could do it. I picked it up quite quickly, and they recognized that, and they were like, well, you know, let's just help him along with that, you know. And for ages, I knew I wanted to do something in music, but the career options changed drastically. So up until I was about 19, or no, up until I was about 17, I was like, I'm going to become like the top piccolo player in Scotland. That's my dream. That's what I want to do. I want to play piccolo in orchestras, right? Really weird.
That's the little mini flute that's super high, yeah?
Yeah. That's the one. It's the shrillest thing ever. But I was really into it, and I absolutely loved it. And I felt like I finally found my niche. And then I kind of lost interest in orchestral playing, and I was like, you know, I find writing music more interesting. So I started doing that. Went to the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, studied composition for a year. Found that I was missing like the whole like playing aspect of it. At the same time, I was getting bass guitar lessons with Mario Caribe, who's like one of the best bass players I know. Double bass player, bass guitarist, like phenomenal composer as well. Jazz bass player. So I was getting lessons with him, and then I thought, you know what? I think I want to focus on bass guitar. So I ended up auditioning to do the jazz course at the Conservatoire. I got in, I think, in my opinion, through the skin of my teeth, because I'm not the hottest jazz bass player around. I can get by. And then that's how I started. Did the jazz course, and now I'm just playing bass and a bunch of different things and whatever.
Yeah, he's selling himself short.
I'm quite bad for that.
He's
Don't
actually,
follow my lead. Don't do what I do.
No, he's really good.
This is my one character flaw. Anyway.
So we've established you went to the Royal
Yes.
Conservatoire and you did the jazz course.
Yeah.
That was 3.
Yeah, I did it for 3 years because
years.
I did a year of classical composition, like modern composition.
If I'm right in saying at the Conservatoire they don't allow you to play paid gigs, is that a thing?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It used
quite
to be
that.
like that.
Most famous story to do with that. It's not as bad now. But Jack Bruce, bass player and lead singer of Cream, you know, that famous band.
Yeah.
He studied at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland back when it was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama.
Glad they changed the name.
Yes, back in the day. And he went there to do composition in cello, and he ended up, they ended up kicking him out because they heard through the grapevine that he was playing jazz gigs on the side on double bass.
Oh, naughty boy.
I know. This is, keep in mind that when we're Cream a band, like the 70s, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this would have been like late 60s kind of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, he ended up going, I'm going to take the paid gigs. And then became, the celebrated Jack Bruce. Now he's got a space named after him at the Royal Conservatoire. So, yeah. It's in the, if you ever go inside it, you go up the stairs and you got the cafe area. There's a little space there, and it's called the Jack Bruce space. So there you go. So yeah, take that what you will. I think different courses have different ideas on priorities. So my priorities when I was doing composition at the time weren't to go out and play bass guitar and get paid for it. It would be writing music and listening to new music and doing all that kind of thing. So
what you're saying is when you were young, you didn't realise that it was a thing you could make money at.
Yeah.
Because I was the same.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
It didn't even enter my head.
No,
That's why we're making this podcast, because it should be in people's heads that it is actually an option.
And I mean, you could probably take this advice that you hear here, you can kind of apply it to any kind of art form, really.
Yep.
But we're just
photography or
acting, whatever. It's just we're just focusing, or writing a book, like being an author, whatever. It's just we're just focusing on the music side of it, or just on music in general. Yeah. It was that moment I kind of realized that I don't actually fancy the idea of sitting around trying to write, writing music and hoping, just sitting there hoping I get commissions or whatever,
You've done, so you've kind of had your toe in like every...
I've kind of done everything.
You've done the jazz thing, the classical thing, and you've also done the going through all the Glasgow venues and getting no money and playing, last on a set or in the rehearsal studios and all that world, as I have as well.
Yep.
All that fun.
I've done all that stuff.
All the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you only get paid if we sell 100 tickets and all that.
Yeah, and even if you sell 100 tickets, you only get like a tenner each kind of thing. Yeah, good times.
What is your favourite thing? So you've got the classical thing, playing in an orchestra. You've got playing in a jazz trio or whatever, and you've also got playing in some dingy venue in Glasgow. What has been your favourite experience musically?
I think it's always been the sort of like playing in like indie bands and that kind of thing. 'Cause that's kind of what, when I was learning bass anyway, that's what I sort of listened to. I still listen to it. I'm really big into like punk music and grunge and.
Oh yeah, you listen to music, don't you?
Yeah, I actually listen. Yes, I know.
Unlike me, bizarrely.
To be fair, you've got an excuse. sort of, in that your job requires listening to music all the time. And repeatedly, the same track over and over again.
Yeah.
Because so that's fair. I get that. I'll defend you. I
Weird.
get it.
I've actually encountered a few people who are like that, where they are musicians but don't listen to music. I had someone in recently, actually, who was recording, and they said they don't really listen to music that much. They don't really have a music collection, never have had, but they love playing music. I think, if I'm right in saying, I think somewhat a member of The Who, or someone like really like high up, it is the same, like does not like listening to music. But is like super successful, so it's like not unheard of.
Enjoys playing music.
It's bizarre. Like I've just never had a music collection of sorts. It's not interested me. It's so weird because I'm a sound engineer and musician for a career, and
it's fair. And I get it. I get it.
It's like, just see, like lyrics. Like I don't listen to lyrics.
I'm the opposite. Well, I mean, like
it doesn't interest
for a
me.
while. I didn't listen to lyrics, and then once I started writing lyrics, I started paying attention, and I was like, wow. Like, I'm in no way saying that I'm like an incredible, exceptional songwriter. Not at all. I write songs. I try my best, but as soon as I started writing songs and I started listening to lyrics, I was just like, oh, I get it now. I get what the song's about now, rather than just like, oh, this is cool. This is a cool wee riff. This is a cool wee harmonic progression, whatever. So
kind of the same question as you asked me. If there's something that you've learned now, that you know now, that you wish you knew when you were 18 or whatever.
The one thing that I wish I knew now was that...
Or rather,
that I know now is that even though, I'm quite self-deprecating and I sell myself short quite bad, like, you just really need to believe in your ability as a musician and just develop it and keep on going with it. I feel like if I just trusted myself as a bass player a bit more, I wouldn't have had all the struggles that I had to.
So it held you back in the past?
Yeah, I didn't really think of myself as... I think it was because I was studying jazz music, and I thought, well, because I studied jazz music, I am now a jazz bass player. And I was looking at myself as a jazz bass player, and I was going, oh, I'm not as good as so-and-so or this person or that person or whatever. Yeah. And I need to be exactly like them. Nah, just...
Run your own
What I'm
race.
saying is that learn about different things, right? So instead of I learned jazz to just learn more about music, and now I just use that information to just develop my own bass playing, my own kind of, I don't know, character or sound or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's what I wish I'd known before, was just don't try to be like other people. Believe in your own abilities and just develop them. Look up to other people, but don't try and be like other people. That's what I would probably say to myself. So totally different. Nothing to do with money or anything like that. Just like emotional stuff. Because doing music is an emotional thing sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a drummer. I don't really get
it.
It's just hit things.
I'll be sitting here talking about emotions and touchy feely nonsense. So you've got me for the whole holistic side of this podcast.
I'm not that orientated. I'm more like emotionally void. That's why I don't like music.
Yeah, probably
because I'm just like dead inside. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that pretty much sums up where our backgrounds are, and we want to have a sort of the sort of aim of the podcast is kind of to have a resource for people to go to who are just starting a band,
or maybe you've been doing this for a while,
and there's things you should learn.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about things that we have done.
Yeah.
in the last 10 years since leaving school or whatever, the things we did wrong, the things that we should have done when we were younger. It's kind of like promoting this mentality of, when you're going to get a real job? Because there are people like us who really don't want to do anything else and want to do music and have this crippling fear underneath everything, like, oh, this isn't a real job.
It totally is, man.
We can't make real money doing this, but you can.
Yeah.
You actually can.
And we're not...
Because music has value.
Exactly. And again, we're not talking of Gavin and I are not millionaires. You can have a comfortable, happy existence where
making music,
you can just make music and have fun and actually have a job that's fulfilling without, and hey, like if you become like the next, like, the next, like, whatever,
name? What's that girl's name with her brother?
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish, right? So there's an example. Like her and her brother, as far as I'm aware, wrote all that first album in their bedroom with equipment that costs less than 500 quid and got it in the eyes of a label.
Yep.
And she's now selling out stadiums.
Yep.
So
and getting all sorts of sponsorships.
That is the exception. The rule is you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
But there are exceptions to that rule. But you're never going to make it if you don't try.
Exactly.
Making it depends on what you mean by making it.
Exactly.
Making it, in my mind, was being self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient, yeah, exactly.
On just music.
Yeah.
And if you can get to livable wage whilst doing the thing you love, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be music, could be teaching, could be anything. If you get to do the thing you love every day for a living and be able to sustain yourself, that is success as far as I'm concerned. Some people think success is having number one hits and...
Yeah, which is,
That's fine. If you want to do that, you go and do that.
Yeah. The way I see it for me is that if I get a number one, that's a nice bonus.
But you should never base your entire career on, if I win the lottery, this will happen. That's basically what getting a number one is like. Or becoming viral. Oh, when I become viral, it'll be all good. Like,
no, you can make it good now. You
can make it good now, yeah. If you have the right mentality and you go through the right steps to get there.
Yep.
So you can make a livable wage
without making all the same mistakes that we did. So
yeah. So that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah.
So next week I want to talk about the entire arc of the point of this podcast, where we want to go from here, and we're going to talk about all the stages that you need to go through as a band or a songwriter or a musician, and how to become successful.
Yeah, and on the way we're going to bring in guests, all, Glasgow or Scottish musicians.
As far away as Edinburgh.
I know. Just at different levels and just talking to them and in different scenes and doing different things. So
yeah. See you next week.